The IWI Masada was a gun that was introduced to the US in 2020, and it represents IWI's foray into the world of duty striker-fired polymer-framed guns. The frame is modular and the fire control unit can be lifted out from the frame, but it's not as portable as, say, like a SIG P320. In 2021, the IWI Masada still represents a strong value in a world of increasing firearm prices. I'm David with Gun Deals, and today we're talking about the IWI Masada Optics Ready. The IWI Masada still represents a very strong value in 2021. I looked at it just before I sat here to record this video for you guys, and it is selling for still between about $400 and $440, which is the same price that it came to market in back in 2019. If we use the Wayback Machine and look at what prices were back in 2019 for, say, like a Glock or a CZ versus for what they're selling today, they're up 10 to 20%. Whereas the IWI Masada is still kind of like an unknown gem within the segment. So this is very much a value play as far as the service style gun is concerned, but it has a ton of features and it is pretty squared away. So as the pistol is sort of a price point type of gun, it does show up in a cardboard box, but that's not unusual. Smith & Wesson still sells out of cardboard boxes, and they are considered broadly to be a duty grade sidearm. And to that point, when you pick up the Masada and feel it, the only thing that you're going to notice about why you would say it's potentially not a duty grade firearm is because the polymer formulation that they use is more typical to like what Ruger uses in their polymer frame striker guns. It just has a very slick sort of feeling to it. The texture they put on the frame isn't quite as aggressive as what you would see in like especially the M&P 2.0, but even your standard Glocks. The grip texture is pretty light, so you are going to want to enhance that if you do live in a humid environment or like to do a lot of shooting where your hands potentially get sweaty. The Masada does combat that a little bit because the grip, honestly, with how they've sculpted it, the undercut of the trigger, how the grip tang is sculpted, I mean, it absolutely locks into your grip and it feels fantastic. The bore axis is a little bit high. It's not as bad as like a SIG P320, but it is going to be higher than like a Glock or an M&P. You can see with where the web of my hand is there, and the bore, you can see right there, I've got my finger kind of coming out of the barrel. That's where the bore line is. So the gun is going to be a little bit flippier, but because the ergonomics and the shape of the gun are so squared away, it's really not that big a concern. I enjoy shooting this gun a good bit. Part of the reason the gun does feel like such a high quality gun is that all of the controls that you actually interface with are aluminum or metal of some kind. The mag catch right there is a button made out of aluminum, probably. The slide release is full ambi. So all of the controls on the gun where your hand sort of interfaces to control the gun, the slide stop, the mag catch, the trigger, all of them are metal, which is nice. It conveys a sense of quality beyond just like kind of the stamped sheet metal like Glock uses and things like that. So everywhere you put your thumb on the gun or your trigger finger, it feels really, really high quality. Shaking the gun, it does have a little bit of a rattle, but that's not unusual for this style of pistol necessarily. The frame is got a male-female sort of deal with the base pads of the magazine. You can see right there that the grip is cut out so that you can strip magazines by grabbing onto the base pad if they ever got lodged in the gun. The back straps are interchangeable. They drift out by knocking out a pin at the base of the grip. I've got the large back strap installed and it feels like it was made for my hands. The trigger pull weight is about 5 pounds on my scale, and the shape of the trigger is very well sculpted. The face of the trigger is very broad, so whether you like to hook all the way at your first knuckle or if you like to split the center of your pad, the trigger will accommodate you either way. The safety on the trigger does go completely flush, so it is a very comfortable trigger to manipulate. Coupled with how your hand mounts onto the gun, it's just a very easy gun to shoot accurately, if the sights weren't so crummy. And the sights unfortunately don't hit at the correct point of impact. If you have a target, the correct point of impact is you cut the target in half, the bullet shows up on the top of the front sight post. This has a combat hold, which is to say that you have to cover up the target with the sight. So basically, where the white dot sight is on the front is where the bullet holes are going to show up downrange if you use the irons. The problem with that is it is more natural to want to hold underneath what you're aiming at so you can see what you're shooting at rather than to cover it up with the sights. Most people generally have problems shooting low. They don't have problems shooting high. high. So it's kind of a bad decision to put the combat hold type sights on a pistol. However, it does accept the Sig Sauer sight cut, so any sights that fit any Sig Sauer gun will fit on this gun, so you can upgrade the sights to something that is going to be more appropriate. But more importantly than that is, it is an optics ready gun for about $440. The type of system that they use is a pocket that has different plastic spacers, the same as like the Smith & Wesson optic cut has, and you basically just put the plate spacer that you want down, and then you put your optic on top and then screw the screws into the slide itself, and the plate just acts as a spacer, so you get excellent screw engagement into the slide, and the plastic little plates that they come with fit the cutout for them very, very well. So it absolutely seems like it would hold up. I mean, I think I put about 300 or 400 rounds through it with an optic on top, and the optic wasn't beat up or anything like that. It did fine. I used a Delta Point Pro with it. It went great. Another thing that I really like about the slide is the cocking serration. So it's very easy to grab the slide, they bite you back, and that's honestly what I like about the slide cuts. The gun is very no nonsense. It doesn't have a lot of flair to it, but that's honestly what I kind of like about it. It is very understated, and it looks like a duty gun, and it performs the same. So I'm a pretty big fan of it. The size-wise, this is going to be more of a home defense gun, or if you're a larger framed guy and you can get away with hiding a full-sized gun, this is basically a Glock 17 size gun. The magazines are 17+1 rounds. The magazines are actually super high quality. They are covered with an anti-friction coating, and they are sold directly by IWI for about $30. And in 2021, magazines that sell for $30 are a great, great deal. The magazines are made in Italy, so it's probably not a bold guess to say that these are Metgar magazines, and Metgar makes basically the best magazines in the world. Takedown is accomplished through turning this lever up here with the slide locked all the way back, then go forward, pull the trigger, and the slide comes all the way off the frame. So you can perform all of your maintenance on the gun. Put the slide back on the frame. It's the same process in reverse. You just slide the slide back on, lock it to the rear, put your lever back down, and it is good to go. Function check, and the trigger resets. We touched on the trigger briefly, but the trigger is pretty good, honestly. It's a pretty good shooter's trigger. So there is a little bit of take up, as you can see there, getting onto a pretty firm wall. There is a little bit of creep. You can see I can get a little bit of wiggle right there on the wall before the trigger breaks. The reset is kind of long. It's a little bit of an assist pushing your trigger finger forward, but it's not as positive as something as, say, like a Glock. Aftermarket support for the Masada honestly isn't the best as far as holsters are concerned. You can find holsters out there, but it's probably not going to be from like the first name brand that jumps to your head. So you may have to compromise on what brand holster you get, but there are quality holsters being offered. So the IWI Masada, in my opinion, is primed to move a lot of units in 2021 where everybody else is selling guns at a super high price. I would certainly recommend the Masada over like the Ruger Security 9 or some of the other price point guns. Only maybe the Canex can hang with the Masada in my opinion. However, the Canex are somewhat rare to come by. So check out the IWI Masada. I can tell you that it is a very easy gun to shoot well. The sights need a little bit of work, but the optics mounting system, if you're looking at getting into an optic ready gun, is very squared away. So sound off in the comments. Have you shot an IWI Masada, and would you consider using one as your home defense gun? Let me know in the comments, guys. I appreciate you, and we'll catch you on the next one.